Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The title of our today presentation is Differentiation of Students' Attitude toward e-learning during the COVID-19 pandemic in the powiat of Wielkopolska region. As my colleague Emilia mentioned already, this is a team work. Our team consists of 4 people. All of us work at Adam Mickiewicz University. Today's presentation is only a small part of a big project, differentiation of social attitudes in the area of educational services during the pandemic. Funding obtained through a competition announced by the rector of Adam Mickiewicz University research on COVID-19. Results were announced in September 2020. As a result of our research, we published 2 books, as you can see, and we have already published several papers. What was the objective and scope of the study? We try to identify differentiation of attitude of primary and secondary school students in the Wielkopolska voivodeship towards distance learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. Spatial scope was a Wielkopolska voivodeship and time range, first semester 2019-2020 and second semester 2020-2021. Thus, the 2 most important semesters from the point of view of the introduced changes in the educational system caused by a crisis as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Nie mogę przerzucić. No, nie przerzuca się. Sorry, we have problem with the presentation. Okay. What kind of method have we used? Our research consists of 2 stages. During first stage, we made a survey methods. The population size 459,849 students. Estimated minimum sample size 665. And let's say that we really succeed in this during this survey, because during 1st February and 9th of May 2021, we got 3,313 responses from our students from Wielkopolska region. We were very careful about spatial aspects, spatial context. As you can see, we tried to get information from all powiats of the Wielkopolska voivodeship, and we got it. And also we got information from all types of school: primary school, general secondary school, vocational secondary school, and also technical secondary school. During a second stage of our research, we prepare questionnaire interview. The draw was layered in spatial terms. Schools were selected taking into account the distinctiveness of spatial unit as the powiat level, which constitutes separate layer in a sampling scheme. Therefore, the random sample was selected in such a way that schools from each powiat in the Wielkopolska voivodeship were included in it. And as a result of this questionnaire, we got 36 different statements from each powiat, from school director, 19 from primary school, 8 from general secondary school, 7 from vocational school, and 2 from school complex. During our research, we try to identify students' altitude. We prepare, as you already know, a questionnaire. We prepare 25 questions about students' altitude. We try to recognize 3 different context components such as knowledge, such as assessment, and also behavior. Due to lack of time, I can only mention few results of our research. The cognitive component of attitude, for example, we ask students about knowledge about service of e-learning platforms, and it was really satisfied. As you can see, more than 80% of students think that they have very good or good skill level in a communication platform. Of course, we made everything in spatial sphere, as you can see on the map. We have no time to discuss about each figure. We also ask about knowledge about possibilities of computer hardware for online lesson, about technical service of computer hardware. And we can say that from students' point of view, it was quite satisfied. But I would like to emphasize this is just only students' point of view. In second component, the assessment component of attitudes, assessment of the form of distance learning use, and also assessment of the organization and methods of conducting remote classes. In this context, we try to evaluate of teaching classes conducted online, assessment of conducting of teaching classes conducted online, and everything, of course, in spatial powiat context. The last component of student attitudes was behavioral, determining the scope of changes in activity and participation in remote classes. In this context, we try to identify students' behavior in the new conditions of remote classes. For example, do you enjoy or schedule lesson in the front of computer, or are you more active during lesson? It was big diversity among powiats and among students. As a result of the total ranking of all 3 components of attitude, make it possible to distinguish powiats where students' attitudes towards new form of distance learning are the most positive one and the last positive one. As you can see on the map, this is quite big diversity between powiats, but I want to really emphasize that it's only students' point of view. Let's go into general conclusion regarding the entire survey population of students. The majority of students, over 80%, have good and very good skill in using e-learning platforms. Only every 5th student uses the help of parents in technical maintenance of the equipment. Also, a high percentage has appropriate computer equipment enabling remote lessons and the same percentage has appropriate conditions at home. Only about 36% of students explicitly declared that they prefer remote lesson to traditional lessons at school. Only slightly half of the students take remote lesson in concentration and without obstacles, and the rest take breaks or even give up some classes. And the last conclusion is that less than every fifth student has the camera turned on during the lesson. The rest likely use the opportunity to hide behind the turn off camera, which may have multiple reasons and requires further in-depth sociological and psychological analysis. This is really difficult problem from many. We got many opinions about it. From the second stage of our research, we got information from a school director, and here you are general conclusion from our interview. And let's say that school director identified only disadvantages about remote learning, such as finding communication channel with students, lack of experience in the implementation of distance learning, problems with equipment and internet quality. It was very depends on area. Problem with motivation to study, fatigue of students, lack of physical activity, lack of personal contact, psychological problems of students, lack of interaction and evasion, cheating, quite popular, disappearing students, and also pathological houses. It was a problem with fearing for students. School directors identified only one advantage. It was that students really improved their technical skill. So it was a good part of remote learning. And let's go to general conclusion and recommendation. There are no fundamental differences between the opinions of students and school principals from different districts of the Wielkopolska region. Even the opposite tendency can be observed. Many statements pointed to these problematic issues and the same ways to solve them. A greater diversity of opinions can be observed at the school level. And general recommendation when planning teaching processes in the post-pandemic period, it is worth taking into account the acquired great skill and very good hardware equipment, enabling students to participate in online classes. Thank you for your attention.
Justyna, thank you very much for your insightful presentation. Now we will move to the next one, which will be the presentation of Sergiej Jaromenko, who is from Institute of Rural and Agricultural Development from the Polish Academy of Sciences. Sergiej, I would like to warmly welcome you to our session, and please, we are looking for your presentation on cultural heritage of Ukraine in danger, influence of Russian invasion. Please, Sergiej, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for attending on this conference. First of all, it's very hard topic for this time, because cultural heritage of Ukraine is danger all the time of Russian invasion Ukrainian area, and I will start to second. This is the structure of my presentation, and I will start with briefly about starting of Russian invasion. Here you can see areas where was occupied by Russians in March and April. On the north and northeast part of Ukraine, and now constantly is occupied south part of Ukraine and western part of Ukraine. Of course, this map show you areas where cultural heritage is in danger all the time because of Russian missiles and attacks through the air. But other areas, for example, western part of Ukraine, central part, or for example, Odessa, all the time also have Russian missiles by the air. So on this map, you can see distribution of cultural heritage of Ukraine. We have some three clusters where cultural heritage in high density. For example, western part of Ukraine, north and central area, for example, Kiev and Kiev region, etc. And south part of Ukraine, especially Crimean Peninsula. On this slide, you can find classification of cultural heritage in Ukraine. We have types, categories, and kinds of or sorts of these cultural heritage classes or types of heritage. By regions, you can find that a lot of we have on this slide, we have categories with the national importance and local importance. Of course, if you talk about national importance, we have different differences between Ukrainian regions. For example, Kiev and Lviv region are the highest level of cultural heritage density. But on the other hand, we have local importance. On this slide, we have summarize all national and local importance cultural objects, and you can find that, for example, Kharkiv region or Dnipropetrovsk region have the highest number of cultural heritage, but it's because this summarize. Why we summarize this cultural heritage? We have to understand density and numbers of cultural heritage by Ukrainian regions, and next step of our research, because our research is going on because every day we add some data on this presentation. I have data set from the end of August, because 3 months we finding some problems with dataset. I will say it a little bit later. Here you can find destroyed cultural heritage objects by regions. You can find that it's clear that Donetsk region or Kharkiv region, or for example Kiev region, they have the highest level or numbers of cultural heritage objects. I mean, it's immovable objects, because it's very hard to find movable or intangible objects to find out. So it's visible to find how level of destroyed cultural heritage is. And On this slide, you can find, for example, Mariupol on the left picture, completely destroyed city. 90% of Mariupol is destroyed, and it's a very huge problem because when we find some data set about destroyed objects, some of them is out of state register, because when I show you a structure of cultural heritage objects, these objects could be have to be in state register on a national or local importance level. So a lot of objects are out of this register object, unfortunately, and next step of our research will be to find how to include these objects for assessment of cultural heritage destroying level of these regions. Here you can find the typology of human-induced hazards for cultural heritage from the UNESCO. And of course, in Ukraine, we have different kinds of human-induced hazards. For example, violence and conflict-induced human destroyed, or armed conflict, large-scale population dislocation, etc., etc. And when we talk about culture, heritage, and disaster, we have some definitions. What is disaster and what is disaster risk? You can see on this slide. So our structure of research finds some gaps on state register. List of national and local cultural heritage, because we found that first of all, Ukraine consists from 27 administrative units, and we collect the information from the regions and divide it into the new administrative units by regions or districts. You have find this register immovable cultural heritage divided by new administrative units. It's very important because on the for example, on the region, we couldn't find differences between, for example, Donetsk region, who is occupied in 2014, or now where it's completely destroyed. And we collection by types of cultural heritage. On the one hand, on the other hand, we have got register of cultural heritage from the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine. And when we summarize in this data collection, we find some disparity in final data set, and it's because this summarizing register from Ministry of Culture is only by regional level, but for us it will be so important to find differences on the districts level. For example, some parts of south part of Ukraine or western part of Ukraine, because not all region, for example, Kharkiv region, will be occupied by Russia. And that's why we collecting this data set from two sources. The one source collected by Register of Immovable Cultural Heritage, and the second one was from collection by Data Culture Crimes. and it will be very hard to compare these two data because of a lot of objects are new or out of register of cultural heritage. It's very important problem because, for example, local authorities or local bodies don't want to get on the finance or for restoration these objects before work, of course, but now it will be more completely to get these objects for restoration or to add for state register. And here you can find executive authorities. The cabinet minister of Ukraine is on the implementation of state policy in cultural heritage protection. For example, regional authorities could manage this cultural heritage, but when we talk about local units, they have no possibility to manage because, for example, they couldn't add this objects to state register. They have to apply this data set or information to regional bodies to add this cultural heritage. For example, now when a lot of cultural heritage are destroyed, only urban settlements could quickly add these objects to culture crimes heritage site to showing how these objects are destroyed. On the other hand, rural areas are out of this because of they have no infrastructure to add. I mean, in online this data set, and they have no some practices or professionals to manage these objects. Here you can find main issues to restoring or preserving of cultural heritage of Ukraine. First of all, we have to complete information about these areas destroyed, because a lot of objects out of even in regions, for example, Odessa region or Lviv region, out of current war situation, they have no completely information about destroyed objects, cultural objects, and we have to add different units. I mean, especially on local level, to get information information about cultural heritage. Maybe in online, maybe it will be some data set with open source for edit this data. Some of rural urban settlements modeling some objects were destroyed or in danger for destroying. Maybe it's a good direction to save some information about this cultural heritage. And of course, we have to add different parts of different bodies for restoration our cultural heritage. For example, UNESCO, ICOMOS, European foundations, and also we try to analyzing some examples from Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, how to manage these objects in danger, and how they could it could be possible to implement for Ukrainian situation. What I mean, we have a new paradigm of cultural heritage in danger. All parts of this cultural heritage management could be included in this. For example, local people, visitors, global community, institutions, etc., etc. So, of course, we have to analyze spread of cultural heritage in Ukraine, which are destroyed and why. Maybe it's not random situation to destroying by Russian missiles. So that's all. Maybe you have some questions, because I show some steps of our analysis of this cultural heritage in danger in Ukraine. Maybe in a 1 year I can show you more information with dataset and some conclusions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sergei, for your very interesting presentation on the important topic. We are glad that you are here with us. I know this is the second presentation. We will leave the questions for the end. So if there are any questions, please include them in the chat box, in the question and answer here. I will ask them at the very end. So please feel free to ask anything to Sergei or to Justyna, the previous presenter. Still, I cannot see Cornelia. She didn't join our conference, so we will move to the next presentation, which is the presentation of Zuza Koltaj, who is from Institute for Human Development and Cultural Studies from the University of Pécs. And Zuza will give a presentation on good practices of civil organizations in supporting nationality, culture, and community organization in Barania County. Please, Zuza, the floor is yours.
So, welcome you all, and thanks for the opportunity. In this session, I'd like to give a short presentation on the sub-research of 1 year-long research. The title of this presentation, The Role of Baranya County Nationality Self-Governments in Community Organization and Preservation of Ethnic Culture. This sub-research was part of a very extensive research entitled Cultural and Community Life of the Nationalities in Baranya County, which was conducted by the research group of our institute at the University of Pécs, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. And it was implemented with the financial support of the National Institute for Culture Academic Grant Program for Public Culture. As I've already mentioned, it was a 1 year-long research project, and it had several different objectives. Of course, these objectives will appear in this presentation as well, so just let me go through very rapidly. So first of all, we wanted to study the cultural and community life of the nationalities of Baranya County. Baranya County is located in the southern western part of Hungary, very close to the Croatian border. We also wanted to explore the current results, challenges, and good practices, and we wanted to reveal the plans for the future in connection with cultural activities and community organization of nationalities in Baranya County. We also examine the community venues. We explore the role of self-governments and NGOs of the nationalities in community organization. We also examine the networking practices, the relationship between the different organizations and institutions. We also revealed the characteristics of fundraising of this field. We explored the local and regional changes shaping cultural activities and community organization of the nationalities of Baranya County, as well as we analyzed the local and county development strategies. We investigated the impact of the pandemic on the cultural activities and community organization of the nationalities in the given county. Then we explore the current forms of online community organization, and we also explore the results, challenges, and good practices of cultural sensitivity activities. In connection with this, we also revealed the cultural sensitivity activity of the University of Pécs, since it has been awarded several times and it is very successful. And we wanted to see whether there are certain fields which can be, or methods or programs which can be adaptable for the improvement of cultural activities and community organization of the nationalities. And based on all of these, we formulated proposals for the development of cultural sensitivity initiatives and community organization of the, or in connection with the nationalities. From now, I'd like to focus on the research methods we applied for investigating the nationality self-government. Based on a stratified sampling procedure, we conducted structured interviews with 30 self-governments of nationalities from Baranya County. In our sample, there were 11 Roma, 10 German, 3 Croatian, 1 Serbian, 1 Polish, 1 Greek, 1 Bulgarian, 1 Armenian, and 1 Romanian self-government. And we also distributed, or we also based our sample on the settlement distribution. This you can see on the slide. We had different categories: Pécs, other towns in Baranya County, villages with different population. And besides conducting 30 structured interviews, we also organized a focus group discussion with the president of nationality self-governments in Baranya County in October 2021, in order to reveal the most important trends and the most important issues which affect or which have an impact on the cultural life and community organization of the nationalities. And based on the experiences, based on the findings of the focus group discussion, we improved our questionnaire because that was the point that we really wanted to include everything which is important nowadays on this field. So as of the distribution of nationalities in Hungary and in Baranya County, our latest data comes from the 2011 census. There is an ongoing census in Hungary right now, but at the moment we can only have this data from 2011. You can see that in Baranya County, the German nationality, the Croatian nationality, and the Roma nationality represents itself with the highest numbers. Especially we can find very considerable German minority in Baranya County. Yeah, you can see that there are more than 22,000 people who consider themselves as Germans in Baranya County. As of the regional location of nationalities, it's really interesting to see or to reveal where they live in the country, because of course it has a very important impact on the cultural activities and community organization conditions. More than 64% of the Roma people live in villages, especially in villages with very small population. As of the Germans and the Croats, we can see that it is approximately 50% of them who live in towns. And it is also a very important characteristic that those ethnic groups which have less than 1,000 inhabitants live mainly in cities in Baranya County, such as Bulgarians, Greek, Poles, Armenians, Ruthenians, Romanians, Serbs, and Ukrainians. Beside the county nationality self-governments, we have local nationality self-government in Baranya County. As you can read it on the slide, there are 270 nationality self-governments in Baranya County, and actually it is the highest number in Hungary. Yeah, and according to the data from 2020, there are 124 Roma, 99 German, 34 Croatian, 6 Serbian nationality self-governments in Baranya County, and 1 Ruthenian, Romanian, Greek, Polish, Armenian, Bulgarian, and Ukrainian. Among the nationalities which are listed in the Hungarian Act on nationalities, there are 2 nationalities which did not register for nationality self-government in Baranya County. Those are the Slovak and the Slovenian nationalities, but beside them, all other nationalities have the nationality self-governments in Baranya County. So as I mentioned, we have the so-called county nationality self-governments as well. In the case of 3 nationalities, there is the Baranya County Gypsy nationality self-government, the Croatian and the German self-government. And we revealed which are the most important activities of these county nationality self-governments. And we found that in the case of the German county nationality self-government, there is a huge emphasis on promoting culture. Yeah, approximately 90% of the financial sources are spent on cultivating the nationality culture. And actually, they are very active in promoting different kinds of cultural activities, such as supporting book club, publishing, organizing a county cultural festival, organizing international conference with Germans across the border. It's very typical for the German nationality self-governments that they offer their programs on a bilingual base, so in German and in Hungarian language as well. It is a very important characteristic of not only the county German nationality self-government, but we can say that generally the German nationality self-governments in the county, that networking has a very important role, and actually there is a very vivid and well-working communication system and networking system among them. That's the reason most of the local German nationality self-governments are really well informed about the different cultural initiatives, programs, different kind of tendering opportunities, so on and so on. The the national German nationality self-government has its regional office in Baranya, and it is the center of this networking activity. They share the information. As of the Baranya County Croatian government, we can find some important cultural initiatives as well, such as the organization of the County Croatian Day. They organize county pilgrimage, creative drawing studio for kids, and also wine competition. As of the Gypsy County Nationality Self-Government, since 2019, they organized a Roma festival in Pécs. That was the very first year when they organized this event. Then they offer different club activities in which they connect language learning and music. Then we can find a very close cooperation with the Roma self-government of Pécs. And there is a club of Roma traditions, which have a very important role in transferring and inheriting the Roma traditions. Beside the county nationality self-governments, we have the self-governments, nationality self-governments in Pécs. Since 2019, there have been 11 ethnic self-governments in Pécs, and since 2010, hello, something happened with my screen. Can you hear me? Hello.
I can hear you and I see the presentation as well.
Okay, because it disappeared for me.
But for a second, also on my screen, the appeared the logo of the conference. I don't know why, but now everything is okay.
Okay. So let me continue. Actually, the German self-government of Pécs implements a good practice. Yeah, we can consider as a best practice. They are very active in organizing cultural events and educative programs as well. Here I just listed the most innovative programs, such as the cultural and culinary program, the Marlene Dietrich night. They organized online quiz nights in German language during the pandemic. So they found a way to engage the people during the lockdown as well. There is a school center, actually it's a kindergarten, primary school and high school and a dormitory as well, which is maintained by the main German nationality self-government. They put a great emphasis on introducing Swabian folk traditions in school. They organize a very nice program series entitled The Square Music, yeah, in which they share authentic German music. Networking is very well done here as well, either with the local NGOs, either with the city of Pécs and other levels of German self-government. If we examine the activities of the local German self-government, we can find the following activities and the following characteristics. We find active reciprocal relationship in many of the settlements and in smaller settlements in villages as well. It is also quite common that either a kindergarten and a school, or a school is maintained by the German nationality self-government, and they put a great emphasis on language teaching in kindergarten and in schools as well. In the case of the German nationality self-governments, there is a very important role of country house museums in strengthening the identity and in inheriting and presenting the German folk traditions and German cultural heritage. I listed some of the settlements from the example where we found such a country house museum. Then I can list in Hungarian language, but I think it does not tell too much for you. Boly feket, hosszú hetény, hásság, gerezslaj, nagykozár. And music has a very important role among the German nationality self-governments as well. We can find German chorus, accordionists, dance groups, traditional dance or music groups in most of the settlements. And we should also mention the German nationality study trails, which were created a couple of years ago. We can find those in Feket or in Pécsvárad as well. On this slide, you can see the German Nationality Country House Museum in Boy, which is operated by the German nationality self-government of the settlement. It was renovated 2 years ago, and it has a very, very important role in nationality education. The school is maintained by the German nationality self-government in this settlement. And as of other characteristics of the local German self-governments, we can mention that they successfully involve volunteers in many of the settlements, such as in Boy or in Marjakémin. It is also very typical that they have a very active publishing activity in which they share, for instance, culinary traditions or local traditions, such as the Gerezslak recipe book or the children's song book. And purchasing books is also an important activity of these self-governments. And we should also mention the different Malenki robot commemorations. Actually, a special walk tour is organized every year between Gerezslak and Pécsvárad. A memory site was created, and it is a very important field or opportunity for community organization. As of the Croatian self-government, we found a good practice in the city of Seje, where we can find a county Croatian poetry competition organized by the self-government. There is a Croatian pop music singing competition at the local school, and they have a very good and well-working relationship with the Croatian national government. They have several different joint activities. And as a very special self-government in Pécs, I like to mention the Polish self-government, which is also very active in the city. I listed their most important activities. As a special characteristic of this self-government, we should mention that they have a very close contact with the Pauline Church in Pécs, and they organize Polish mass in approximately in every 2 months. They organize the Polish Reading Day in Pécs as well, and they celebrate the most important feast. And we should also mention that there is a Polish language education in one of the primary schools in Pécs, and they have a very good connection with the Polish school in Budapest. Networking is very working here as well. Which are the most important challenges of the nationality self-governments in Baranya County based on the findings of the research? First of all, the involvement of young people. Yeah, young people are less interested in this activity. So it is always a big question to whom the leaders could inherit the leadership. And actually, the second point should be mentioned as well, because many of the presidents of the nationality self-governments mentioned that a problem also comes from the so-called generational differences. Yeah, so while seniors are more open and are more engaged in community life, young people tend to be focusing on their self-time, their individual goals, and community organization is not a primary goal or value for many of them. Many of the presidents of the nationality self-governments mentioned that more educational institutions should be run by them in order to improve the effectiveness of identity building and preserving the cultural heritage. They also mentioned the needs regarding better financial support. And there is a problem in the Roma self-government. We found that promoting the Roma culture meets some obstacles while advocacy captures energy. Yeah, so it's very typical that they mostly focus on different social issues, and this takes all of the energy of them, and there is less opportunity for promoting the Roma culture. It is another problem or challenge that there is a lack of massive in native language of the nationalities. So it became quite difficult to provide these masses in native language just because of the lack of those priests who could provide the mass in the native language. Then many of the presidents mentioned the disadvantaged electoral system that during the elections, the people had to decide whether they want to vote for their nationality representatives or to the party list, and it is disadvantageous for them. And of course, due to the financial problems and the structural problems of the county, many young people left the area due to the lack of job opportunities, emigration. So altogether, these are the most important challenges, but we are very happy that we found several very good examples how these nationality self-governments can actively and successfully preserve the nationality culture and building the nationality identity. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and after the presentations, I'm very happy if you have any questions, and then I can answer them. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And after my presentation, I will give a round of questions to the other participants. As you know, my name is Emilia Bogacka, and I represent the same team that was starting our session. And on behalf of my team, Justyna Weltrowska, also Anna Topolska and Jan Hauke, I will give a presentation entitled Social Attitudes of Academic Teachers Towards the Digitalization of Education, the case of Wielkopolska region, Poland. I will not repeat the information on the project Justyna shared with you. I will just move straight to the plan of the presentation. First, I will present the aim and scope of the study. Then I will move to data collection, and next I will present selected results of our study, and I will end with some summary. The aim of our study is to analyze the social attitudes, this is knowledge, evaluation, and behavior of academic teachers towards changes in the functioning of higher education institutions and teaching methods during the pandemic in the digitalization perspective. As a theoretical background, we used education geography, but what is more important for the results presented here, we used the behavioral direction, which was developed in the research of socioeconomic geographers since the beginning of the 1960s, especially in the Anglo-Saxon geography. This research direction is related, among others, the analysis of social attitudes towards various phenomena occurring in the local or regional space. Is it therefore worth emphasizing that although analysis of attitudes belong mainly to the research field of sociology or psychology, they are usually non-spatial analysis, unlike the studies of socioeconomic geographers as we are. It should also be underlined that the basic findings concerning both the terminology and the conceptual scope of the phenomenon of attitudes have been formed on the grounds of sociology and psychology. Based on the results obtained by representatives of these disciplines, attitudes can be defined as cognitive emotional state connected with a specific tendency to act. The concept of an attitude reflects three basic aspects, namely knowledge about an attitude object, its evaluation, and behaviors towards it. Thus, treating attitudes as a reflection of the three above listed components, one can try to interpret them in the context of the influence of the attitude object on their information. And in the results section, I will focus on the underlined social attitudes of academic teachers. The basic method we used in the research is the survey method. A survey was conducted among academic teachers at higher education institutions in the Wielkopolska region. Thus, it concerns a population of almost 9,000 academic teachers who were associated with 21 higher education institutions in Wielkopolska, including 11 public ones. In the initial stage, based on the data about the number of academic teachers, the minimum sample size was established, assuming a 99% significance level and a 5% margin of error. For this purpose, a calculator was used to calculate the sample size. We have questioned more than 700 academic teachers, which is an outstanding number taking into account other works on this topic. I just want to give you an insight into how the components were represented by questions. In the first component, knowledge, I will focus on readiness to work remotely and conduct online classes in particular. Only 22% of teachers were already involved in online teaching before the pandemic, while the remaining respondents had no previous online teaching experience. Those responses to other questions we have mostly reflect the views of respondents with no previous experience of teaching online. However, it should be noted that a significantly larger proportion of respondents working at private HAYS were already involved in online or blended teaching before the pandemic. What is worth noticing, over 60% of respondents reported that they plan to teach some classes online in the future. Should their respective higher education institutions approve such a teaching format, it will undoubtedly transform teaching at these institutions. In the second component of social attitudes evaluation, I will present some information on working conditions during the pandemic. At the beginning of pandemic, academic teachers did not receive much support when it came to the hardware needed for teaching provided by their institutions. Only 54% of academic teachers had the equipment required, I mean a laptop or a personal computer. In the next semester, the winter semester of 2020-2021, the situation improved only slightly by about 6%. Fewer than 1/3 of all respondents had printers, and only a few had access to some specialist equipment such as graphic tablets or digital pens. An overwhelming majority of academic teachers worked from home. This is the other important aspect in that regard. Over 97% at the beginning of pandemic, with a small drop of about 2% in the second semester during the pandemic. More than a quarter of respondents conducted classes from their workplace. It is worth noting that at the beginning of the pandemic, considerable limitations in commuting to work were in force. The situation changed slightly in the next semester of academic year as the restrictions were partially lifted for some periods of time, and as a result, 1/3 of teachers conducted at least some of their classes at the workplace. But it is also worth noticing that over 11% of respondents took the opportunity to work outside the workplace and outside of home. It means some other locations like holidays or so on. The last component of social attitudes is the behavioral component. An important issue in that regard was the ability to combine remote work with everyday duties. Online work has profoundly changed the lives of academic teachers. Working from home may result in a lack of delineation between work and personal life. Performing personal and professional activities in the same limited space may result in losing separation between those two aspects of life. Therefore, academic teachers were asked to evaluate their ability to reconcile online work and everyday life. The evaluation was performed on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 means very bad and 10 means very good. That skill has been rated quite highly. Score between 7 and 10 amounted to 75 of all responses provided. The highest score, 10, was given by almost 25% of teachers. While when evaluating the ability to reconcile online work and everyday life, we checked for a correlation between gender and age and teaching experience. In general, older academic teachers with greater teaching experience are assigned higher scores for their ability to maintain a balance between work and personal life when working online. When considering gender, both older women and older men assigned higher scores to their work-life balance. And we discovered that there was no correlation between teaching experience and gender. I'm coming to an end, and now I would like to show you the synthetic diagram that is showing the most important changes in social attitudes of academic teachers at higher education institutions in our region, which is Wielkopolska. The changes that happened in the academic life during the pandemic. So I will highlight only the ones that I presented today. So academic teachers are from private institutions are more experienced in giving online classes before the pandemic compared to teachers from public institutions. And the vast majority plan to continue online classes when face-to-face classes resume. Also, it is important that academic teachers highly appreciate the ability to combine remote work with family life. So, just to mention the most important outcomes of our study that I mentioned in today's presentation, and I would like to tell you that all the outcomes of our study are here in this book, which is called Differentiation of Social Attitudes of Students and Academic Teachers in Wielkopolska region during the COVID-19 pandemic. And in this book, we also present the results of the survey that we conducted among the students and also with people who graduated studies. So if someone is interested, I will pass the link to our book, which is printed in English. Thank you very much for your attention. I will finish my presentation at that point. So now it's my pleasure to ask Zusa a question. If I understand everything right from your presentation, two questions actually. Is it only supporting ethnical roots, or is it deeper and includes also language in the groups? In these groups that are supported in that regard, you told us, because you showed some example of German nationality self-government that includes some language classes. When we saw some examples from the other countries, and you didn't mention any classes, language classes for these people. But when we saw again in the Polish nationality self-government that you that they have some classes for these people. So what about the other groups? Do they also have the chance to experience their own language? And one other questions, maybe more to you, or maybe you know some work on this topic. How are these activities evaluated by Hungarian citizens? What is their opinion on the cultural events organized for other nations? If you are able to answer this question, I'll be glad.
Thank you very much for the questions. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Zusa.
Okay. So first of all, I mentioned the German language education, in kindergarten, in primary schools, and in high schools as well. Actually, there are several schools in Pécs and in Baranya County where German language education is provided. Either in the case if it is a nationality school, or if it is a normal school or a regular school, but they have some special classes for this. In connection with this, I'd like to mention that although it is a question that in most of the cases the German language which is taught in schools is Hochdeutsch, not the Schwäbisch language. Yeah. In many of the cases, although there are some kindergarten and there are some primary schools where they try to promote this Schwäbisch language tradition. Yeah, I mentioned the good example of the Polish self-government. As of the Roma people, there is a Roma school, the so-called Gandhi school in Pécs, which is a very innovative initiative, actually the very first school in the region, and the one and only school in the region which was especially established for Roma kids, and together with some NGOs which plan to promote the Roma heritage and Roma language. They offer some language courses as well. They implement these language courses in different other activities. Actually, the problem is, and we mostly know it not only from the interviews which were conducted with the presidents of the Roma self-government, but also many of the Roma NGO leaders mentioned that actually it is a problem for them that is especially young people are not really interested in the Roma language. Yeah, so if they want to engage the young people to the different cultural programs, they have to provide it in Hungarian language. That's the reason they try to provide special programs, or interesting programs for the kids to be engaged in this activity as well. As of the German programs, as I mentioned, most of them are bilingual. We can find some exclusively nationality language programs in the case of the Croatians. Yeah, so in our example, we found the highest rate of native language programs among them. Yeah, in the German, in the case of the German nationality self-governance programs are bilingual. In the case of Croatians, exclusively native language or bilingual. Yeah, and in the case of the Romas, in most of the cases they are Hungarian language programs. But as I mentioned, there are some initiatives to promote or to engage, especially the children, yeah, to learning the traditional language. Answering the second question, most of these programs are open for other people as well. So, for instance, I mentioned this really nice initiative of the German nationality self-government in Pécs, when they organized this so-called square concerts, or square music program series, where they provide authentic German music. And actually there is a nationality festival in the city, yeah, in the city of Pécs. Those programs are open for everybody, and actually people are interested in, yeah, and they come and they are interested in those programs as well.
Okay, I was trying to run my microphone. Okay, thank you very much, Gustav, for your answers. That's a very interesting topic. Yeah, thanks a lot. Do we have? I don't see any questions in the chat of our room. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, I don't see any questions, so I think that we might take a longer break before the next session that will be held here in this room. So just to remind you, the next session starts at I don't want to be now at 4:30. At 4:30, the next session will begin here in this room. So welcome. So I would like to welcome you to this next session. Thanks a lot to all the presenters for participating and for all the attendees of this session. See you at the conference.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anna Golędzinowska. I'm an architect and urban planner, and it's a great honor to chair this session. I'm looking forward to our interdisciplinary view because I know there will be research on sociology and as well as geography also presented, on tourism development in the uncertain times that we're facing at the moment. We were suggested to have our presentation no longer than 13 minutes, but I don't want to be oppressive to any of you. If you want my support, showing you like 3 minutes before end of presentation that time is closing, please let me know at the beginning of the presentation. In other words, I will just gently remind and ask you to conclude when will be like 1 minute to our time. Yeah. Our first present will be Sevi Malisinova. It will be a joint study, as far as I see, with Evangelia Stergiou. Please correct me if I'm missing, and Stella Kostarpoulou, and the floor is yours.
Hello to everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Sevi Malisinova. I'm a PhD candidate in School of Economics in Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, Greece. And with my colleague Evangelia Stergiou, PhD candidate, and our professor Stella Kostarpoulou, we will present you the topic cultural vitality and tourist development in peripheral areas, networking local festivals. The primary goal of this study is to identify and analyze the cultural vitality in peripheral areas through the local cultural festivals in the study area, as well as to explore the potential sustainable tourism development through networks of small-scale festivals. The study area is settlements under 5,000 inhabitants of the regional unit of Rhodope, which is located in the region of East Macedonia and Thrace in North Greece. Academic literature provides a wide range of definitions for cultural vitality. In our study, we work with the definition of Urban Institute of Arts and Culture of Washington, which defines the cultural vitality as the evidence of creating, disseminating, validating, and supporting arts and culture as dimension of everyday life in communities. This definition includes 3 domains: the percentage of opportunities for cultural participation, such as non-profit, public and commercial art organization, festival and parades, art schools; the cultural participation, such as amateur art making, collective community art making, audience participation; and support for cultural participation, such as public expenditures, foundation expenditure in support of the arts, percentage of working arts. The concept of peripherality can be interpreted from a spatial, economic, social, and political approach, and this is the reason why it is difficult to give a generalized definition. Peripheral areas are characterized by underdevelopment and have some common characteristics, such as economic activities usually based on natural resources, less favorable geographical conditions and poor transport links, difficult access to markets, and lack of resources and skilled human resources. However, peripheral areas have a rich natural and cultural heritage, with many archaeological sites, monuments, and museums, folklore traditions, local festivals, and popular events that could function as tourist attractions with the appropriate strategy and could be a key to the regeneration of peripheral areas creating economic opportunities and vitality. Cultural vitality has extensively researched in urban framework, so there is a lack of research in peripheral areas. Festivals are currently among the most fast developing cultural events in the world. Cultural festivals have developed into a prominent area of tourism research because of the great depth and diversity they possess. They range from the international to the local. Local cultural festivals based in the community, which are strongly linked into the place's identity, uniquenesses, and authenticity, are increasingly seen as links to the history and culture of localities and as an authentic experience for visitors in peripheral and rural areas. On this slide, you can see the study area is settlements under 5,000 inhabitants of the region of Unit of Rhodope, which is located in the region of East Macedonia and Thrace in North Greece, an area that has a rich stock of historical and cultural heritage, uniquenesses and authenticity, but also suffer from remoteness, poor accessibility, poor tourism infrastructure, and numerous of economic, social, and environmental challenges. Regional unit of Rhodope consists of 4 municipalities: Municipality of Komotini, Municipality of Iasmous, Municipality of Maronias Sapes, and the Municipality of Arianan. Regional unit of Rhodope appears to be one of the weakest local economies of Greece, as it records low performance in GDP per capita. Also, it is dominated by the primary sector with low percentage of knowledge and innovation industries. In particular, tourism has a low performance, with tourist arrivals mainly in the summer months in the coastal zone of the region. According to all the above and the literature, this area could be characterized as a peripheral area. Here you can see some photos of local cultural festivals, such as Festival of Tsipro, Festival of Maronias Sapes, Ancient Theatre, Reunion of Thymkiotes, Kalokeri με Θέα. Okay, just a moment, please, because there is a problem with the presentation. Okay. To better explore the cultural vitality in peripheral areas through local cultural festival and tourism development perspectives over the study area, methodology is organized in the following sections. First, an overview of festivals linked to local cultures across the study area is attempted in order to categorization of them through secondary and primary research. Extensive secondary research, such as studies, published articles, official data sources, reports, and statistical information related to local festivals, as well as primary field research with organizer of local festival by semi-structured interviews, were the basis for the identification and classification of the local cultural festival over Rhodope regional unit. We found 75 local cultural festivals that can be categorized into 5 contents: customs festivals, traditional music dance festivals, education festivals, local products festivals, and religious festivals. The next step was the development of a databases about small-scale local cultural festivals over the study area to be used as a tool to provide geographical organized information addressed to a wide range of people, such as tourists, decision makers, people involved in the culture or in tourism sector, researchers, and etc. Here you can see one part of our database of local cultural festival with the necessary information about the name of the festival, the content, the festival date, the festival appearance, and other information. In the following section, we propose the framework of Cultural Vitality Index for peripheral areas, reference to local cultural festivals. This index consists of 6 sub-index. Sub-index 1, production of local cultural festivals, customs, traditional music, dances festivals, educational festival, religious festivals, and traditional local products festivals. Sub-index 2, participation, number of visitors to local festivals, and number of members in cultural organization or associations. Sub-index 3, support, volunteering at local cultural festivals, public expenditures to support festivals, support to local support of culture not directly with cultural activities, and public policies. Sub-index 4, formal networking, participation in formal networks, creation of joint actions in the region, and development of synergies in order to found financial sources. Sub-index 5, informal networking, participation in informal networks, exchange of tacit knowledge and information, level of understanding between members, common values, help frequency, trust in institutions, and degree of reciprocity. And sub-index 6, accessibility, geographical distance from the capital city of regional unit and from the municipality, road network condition, and daily connection with public transport. Here, on this slide, we present the results of our study. As you can see in the chart, the main category of local cultural festival is the religious and traditional music dance festivals, with almost 75% in total. And the most weak category is education and local products festival, only with 10% in total. In the second chart, you can see the festival organization. The most common is the local cultural organization of the area with 43%. In this stage of our presentation, we analyzed networking opportunities and to suggest new festival tourism routes based on cultural vitality and networks. Next, we have the mapping of local cultural festivals. As you can see in the map, with black color, a festival of municipality of Ariana, with orange color, a festival of municipality of Iasmos, with red color, a festival of municipality of Komotini, and with blue color, a festival of municipality of Malonia and Sapos. The map clearly shows that local cultural festivals are scattered in the area, which reinforces the important role in the tourism development of the region. On the next map, you can see the rank of cultural vitality index for peripheral areas with reference to local cultural festival. As you can see, there is a threefold rank: festivals that present a high cultural vitality rating, festivals that present a medium cultural vitality rating, and festivals that present a low cultural vitality rating. At this point, we want to emphasize that the study is still ongoing, so the scores have been extracted from the three sub-index. Sub-index 1, sub-index 1, production of local cultural festival, sub-index 2, participation, and sub-index 6, accessibility. On the next map, you can see local cultural routes that we proposed based on criterion of networking. One festival with a high rank of vitality to exist on the network and proximity 15 minutes road trip. These festival tourism networks have many benefits for the area, as festivals that have a low score of cultural vitality can be interconnected with festivals that have a high score of cultural vitality and create economies of scale and spillover effects such as access to information, to knowledge, access to resources and human resources, information funding sources and technology, visibility and promotion. On the next map, you can see local cultural festivals by date based on the month in which the festival takes place, with different colors as the month. So we suggest local culture. So we suggest local cultural routes with criterion the month and proximity, 15 minutes road trip. In this way of networking, a visitor could visit the area and in the same period can visit more than one festival. Finally, on this map, you can see all the local culture festivals divided by content. With black color, we have custom festivals. With orange color, we have a local product festival. With red color, we have traditional music dance festivals. With blue color, we have religious festivals. And with purple color, we have educational festival. And on the finally slide suggests networks according to functional criterion. Here you can see 3 suggestions of local culture roots. With black color is the network of custom festivals. With orange color is the network of local product festivals. And with purple color is the network of education festivals. As in the previous cases, networks can bring significant benefits to both festival organizers and the local community, as well as tourists. In conclusion, local cultural festivals are key catalysts for boosting cultural heritage, history, and tradition in peripheral communities, and especially in small settlements. Nowadays, modern tourists prefer unique and authentic living experiences, and local cultural festival is a choice for them. But there is a need for networking and branding local cultural festival, upgrade of tourism infrastructure, and improvement of transport infrastructure. For future research, we propose to study local cultural synergies in combination with other cultural industries and neighboring areas. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. In the meantime, I got an information we have a bit more time for each presenter, as the last presentation already took place on the previous panel. However, coming back to your research, the research you presented, I encourage you to ask question on our chat. While waiting, I have a question regarding cultural vitality and those towns, cities which had the highest cultural vitality. Could you name any strong correlation? I mean, all this research is extremely interesting, and I guess maybe inspiring for local decision makers how to organize sustainable cultural based touristic products. However, I would like to ask you, as a researcher, do you see any particular correlation between high cultural vitality and particular feature of local government, local policy, spatial specificity of those places?
As you can see on the maps, there are festivals that are isolated and cannot interconnect it with the rest festival. This happens because the study is still ongoing, and in present analysis, we calculate the cultural vitality index only with 3 sub-indexes. Sub-index 1, production of local cultural festival, sub-index 2, participation, and sub-index 6, accessibility. If we look at the whole integrated framework of the index and enter the rest of the sub-index in the analysis, the results may be differ. So, however, we believe that there will be always isolated festivals, and for this reason, the participation of local authorities is necessary. So these networks could function as tourist attractions with the appropriate strategy of local authorities, and could be key to the regeneration of peripheral areas, creating economic and opportunities and vitality. After all, we believe that the cultural vitality is the way that culture and creativity are actually expressing every day and everywhere in the community.
It's good to remember to unmute yourself. Thank you very much. I see no further question, but no further questions. However, I'm looking forward to the next step, next part of your research you mentioned and its effects. Now, do we have a next presenter already? Yeah, I see. Hello, Ana Maria. Are you with us?
Welcome to you all. In my presentation, in the following presentation, I would like to speak about the COVID-19 epidemic waves in Hungary and their spatial distribution. The presentation consists of 4 major structural parts. At the beginning, I will tell you my aims and methods, and I will tell you some general information about the epidemic waves and their spatial distribution. The major part of the presentation is based on a statistical analysis focusing on presenting national tendencies, spatial inequalities, and comparing the epidemic waves. The major part of the presentation will present the most important results and experiences of this statistical examination. Of course, the most important results will be presented at different geographical scales from national through county and to local level. At the end of the presentation, will some words and thoughts as conclusion and of course focusing on spatiality. So this presentation is based on a descriptive statistics focusing on analyzing national tendencies, spatial inequalities, and comparing the epidemic waves. The presentation covers the examining time period between the beginning of March in 2020 to the beginning of this November. The used epidemiological data are coming from the official governmental website, which is based on daily or weekly. As I told you, I will examine some spatial aspects of the epidemic curves and epidemic waves. The most important indicators will be presented at microregional level, but the majority of the used epidemiological data are available only at country level or county level. County level is not 3 level in Hungary. So missing detailed spatial data don't allow to make an in-depth spatial analysis, but of course I can present some microregional inequalities. It's an important information that the presentation is focusing on spatial inequalities of the pandemic and is not focusing on socioeconomic indicators or socioeconomic challenges. So now there are more than 2 million people who are infected by COVID-19 disease. The total infection rate is more than 20%, but it is based on confirmed cases, but the real number might be higher than this data. Of course, according to the total number of confirmed cases, Hungary belongs to the middle field among European countries. But you can see the total number of COVID-19 death cases is more than 48 And this is one of the highest among European countries. The vaccinated rate is lower than the European average. For example, the vaccinated rate based on one dose doesn't reach the 70%. So, as you can see, in the last 3 years of this pandemic, there were altogether 6 epidemic waves in Hungary. The sectioning of these epidemic waves is based on current number of active cases and its temporal changes, because this indicator gives comprehensive information on current number of potentially infected people, which is important information for healthcare and organizing its capacity. You can see there is a strong seasonality among these waves. A sharp borderline can be detected between autumn and winter wave, for example, between second and third wave, but generally, after the winter or spring wave, there is a longer transitional period, for example, between wave 4 and wave 5. Now we are in the 6th epidemic wave. Now it's stagnated, and there is with this low number of new confirmed cases. These epidemic curves or the run of epidemic curves can show the progress of the pandemic in Hungary, and can show that there are significant differences among these epidemic curves. For example, wave 1 and wave 6 was the smallest or the weakest wave among epidemic waves. Or, for example, wave 6, wave 2 and wave 4 was very similar to each other, while the highest number of current active cases was detected in the third wave, while the most intensive was the 5th wave, because the highest number of active COVID-19 cases were happened the shortest time. You can see some other differences among the epidemic curves according to 2 main indicators. You can see that, for example, there was 80-fold difference between the first and the second epidemic wave, and there was a continuous increasing tendency in the indicator of total number of confirmed cases, wave by wave, except for the 6th wave. You can see that the highest number of COVID-19 death cases was detected during the 3rd wave, and after the 3rd wave, continuous decreasing tendency could happen in the number of death cases. The main reason that is the vaccinated people or the increasing rate of the vaccinated people, because the vaccination was started during the 3rd epidemic wave, and it defends the vaccinated people against the serious health consequences of the COVID-19 disease. So, as I mentioned earlier, the used epidemiological data have different spatial relevance. Most of them have national level. They are available at the national level, but some of them can be detected at county level, at NUTS3 level. But the most important two indicators, the total number of COVID cases and death cases, can be examined at micro-regional level, at settlement level, or at district level, because the missing detailed spatial data was completed last year and this year, so there are some official database on these two indicators. So the following slides will be presented the most important results showing the spatial inequalities at different geographical level. For example, on these maps, you can see the weekly new confirmed cases. These maps can show that the role of geographical hotspots, for example, Budapest, the capital city, and its surrounding was the most important geographical hotspots, especially during the first and during the sixth wave. But you can see, or you can't see, during the other epidemic waves, there were not marked geographical hotspots, because infection change affected the pandemic in the county. And the other important information according to these maps, that generally in all epidemic waves was started at more developed or more urbanized regions of the country, and peripheries or less developed region became more affected or more infected during the later period of the given epidemic wave. For example, after the peak of the curve, or after the landing, or in the landing on phase of the epidemic curve. The second, the next slide can show the spatial pattern of COVID death cases within the capital city of Budapest. You could see that Budapest has an important role as a geographical hotspot in the pandemic in Hungary. You can see a typical spatial pattern according to the death cases, especially western-eastern relation. The western part of the city is Buda, and the eastern part is Pest. But of course, you can see that higher number of death cases can be found in a socio-economically disadvantaged districts, capital districts, especially in the southern part of the capital. And in Buda, in the western part of the capital, you can see one district with a higher number of death cases. The main reason is that higher rate of elderly people who are living in this district. At county level, there is another important spatial pattern based on western-eastern relation. If we examine the three main epidemiological indicators, you can see that higher number of confirmed cases can be detected in the more developed counties, in the northwestern part of the country, or in the central part of the country. But you can see in the eastern part of the country lower number of confirmed cases. the main reason of this situation might be coming that lower testing activity in the eastern part of the country. And of course, you can see that in the less developed eastern part of the country, a higher rate of COVID death cases and death rate can be found. If we examine the spatial inequalities at micro-regional level, especially at district or settlement level, more sophisticated spatial pattern can be found. The most important information that there is an inverse association between trends of COVID-19 morbidity and mortality. It means socioeconomically more disadvantaged regions have a lower risk of being identified as a confirmed COVID-19 case, but have a higher risk of death. At the end of the presentation, here you can see the most important conclusions. Just briefly, the three main results of this statistical analysis. Firstly, mass number of COVID-19 cases based on infection chains don't preclude regional differences. Secondly, the geographical concentration and the spatial pattern of COVID-19 cases always changed during the epidemic waves. And thirdly, the formation of the peak of the epidemic waves may differ regionally. And thank you for your attention, and sorry for, again, this technical problem.
Thank you very much. I encourage you, the other who are present in our room to ask questions. And in the meantime, I have a question. It's very interesting research. However, remind me a lot on situation in Poland and some correlations. What we were thinking during first wave, when it reached, and how and where actually the hotspot emerged. Was there something surprising to you when you elaborated the result of this research? I mean, some places that were you were expected to appear with different intensity.
For me, the most important result, or the surprising result, that after the starting vaccination during the third wave, the number of death cases remain high in Hungary. For example, in the fourth or in the fifth wave. So the vaccinated rate is lower than the European average, and unfortunately, there are significant differences in the rate of vaccinated people within the country, especially in the eastern part of the country. Lower rates can be detected. So it was a big surprise that the vaccination could not result better or best situation in COVID-19 death cases in Hungary.
Yeah, looks like it proves the words of doctors that vaccinating yourself, you're not caring only for yourself, but also for others who have poorer medical state. Thank you very much, and looking forward to see your paper. Hopefully after this presentation. And now we're moving to next presenter. The subject will be good practices of civil organizations supporting national culture and community organization in the Barania County. And the presenter will be Jaja Koltai. Please forgive me if my pronunciation was incorrect.
So today I'd like to talk about good practices of civil organizations in supporting nationality culture and community organization in Baranya County. In the previous session, I've already revealed the findings of our research in connection with the activities of the nationality self-government. But since it was a very extensive research, which involved not only the NGOs, but also the self-governments, nationality self-governments of Baranya County, that's the reason I decided to give two presentations today. Yeah, and this is the second part. So I will try to move my slides. Okay, so first of all, the framework of the research. This research was a 1 year long research, which was conducted by the research group of the Institute of Human Development and Cultural Studies at the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, University of Fitch. I was the leader of this research group, and the topic was cultural and community life of the nationalities in Baranya County. As I mentioned, it was a very extensive research, and beside the current challenges, trends, good practices of the field, we also discovered, or we also examined the communication activity, the networking activities of the nationality NGOs and self-government. We also revealed the different strategies behind which are behind their activities. So it was a 1 year long, very extensive research, which was carried out with the financial support of the National Institute for Culture's academic grant program for public culture. As of the research methods, we conducted structured interviews with the president of the nationality self-government and also with the chairs of nationality NGOs. The research was based on a stratified sampling procedure, and we included 30 chairs of NGOs which deal with the promotion and preservation of nationality culture in Baranya County. As you can see it on the slide, beside the nationality NGOs, I mean the 11 Roma, 10 German, 3 Croatian, and 1 Serbian NGOs, which work for this purpose. We also included 5 NGOs from Baranya County, which generally dealing with the preservation of the culture of the nationalities. The reason is that since the rate of nationalities is the highest in Baranya County, comparing with other counties, other parts of the country, beside the nationality NGOs, there are several NGOs which are not exclusively nationality NGOs, but they defined as one of the basic or fundamental role of their existence and activity to promote nationality culture, to strengthen the national identity, so on and so on. Yeah, so that's the reason that it was a mixed sample. And we also considered the settlement size. So we defined different settlement types, such as Fitch, which is the seat of the county, then other towns, county towns were involved, and villages which were distributed based on the different population size. And besides conducting the structured interviews with the chairs of the NGOs, we also organized a focus group discussion with the involvement of the chairs of the nationality NGOs. Actually, it was one of the first steps of the research last fall. We organized a focus group discussion, actually not only for the chairs of the nationality NGOs, but also for nationality, the presidents of nationality self-government. because we wanted to reveal those trends, those questions, those challenges, those fields which are considered by the leaders of these organizations as the most decisive one, the most important thing. Yeah, and we finalized our questionnaire based on these findings. So structured interviews, and now I'd like to share our findings. Yeah, it was also very extensive research, but I just like to focus on some of the findings. On this slide, you can see the assessment of the leaders of the NGOs about about how do they evaluated the effectiveness of the preservation of nationality traditions and culture in the given settlement. And as you can see, 1/4 of the interviewees stated that it is only moderate, 21% stated it is good, and 55% stated it was excellent. Actually, it is really interesting to see these findings from the point of view of the different nationalities, because we can find a huge difference between, for instance, and especially the German the chairs of the German NGOs and the assessment of the Roma NGOs. While among the chairs of German NGOs, we found a higher rate of excellent assessment. Among the chairs of Roma NGOs, we found a much higher rate of moderate assessment, which stated that this effectiveness is only moderate. We also revealed the most common programs which are organized by the examined NGOs. So by these 30 NGOs, we included to our research, and I listed those on this slide. We created different categories, yes, such as programs related to traditional holidays, keeping local ethnic traditions alive, performance of choirs, orchestras, and organization of concerts, nationality youth camps and meetings, book launch events, book publishing, organizing or participating in the organization of nationality balls, nationality days, evenings, craft activities, conferences and lectures, organization of theater performances, theater meetings, theater visits, exhibitions, hiking tours, nationality language education, and also festivals. Yeah, and now I'd like to focus on some of these activities, because it is really interesting to see that what kind of programs are offered within these categories, and which are the characteristics of these programs based on the different nationalities. You will see later on in my presentation that, and actually it is one of the important findings of the research, that German NGOs are especially active in organizing different cultural events in order to promote and to preserve the nationality, culture, and heritage. And that's the reason that we found several NGOs, not only in cities, but a lot in villages as well, which offer such good practices actually. And among them, I like to mention the village of Obánya, which has which renewed a very nice local tradition, yeah, which is a winter tradition of rolling the wheel of fire. It was renewed a couple of years ago. Or we can mention this element of Magoc, where actually we can find several programs which aim to preserve and to keep alive these German Schwäbisch heritage and customs, such as the so-called Full Carnival or the different activities which are organized in connection with St. Martin's Day, such as pumpkin roasting, lantern making, and the parade. And of course, donut making or donut baking has a very important role, and we can see such really nice initiatives which really try to organize and strengthen the local community, such as the donut baking competition in Nagypal, village of Nagypal, or the carnival related donut baking in Maza. Croatian NGOs are also active from this point of view. Some good practices can be mentioned here as well, such as the sticker competition in Felső Szent Márton, the different indulgence feast, or the very famous and nice tradition of Danube washing in Mohács. The other big category I'd like to mention, the performance of choirs, orchestras, and organization of concerts. German NGOs are really active on this field again, especially in connection with preserving the traditional music of a wind instrument and accordion. We can find, actually it's very typical that choirs, orchestras are working in those settlements where Schwäbisch people live. I listed here several examples, such as Görcsöny, Doboka, Újpetre, Vémény, and of course in Pécs as well. While most of the programs, cultural programs which are offered by the German NGOs are either are mostly bilingual. I mean, they are offered in Hungarian and in German language. The music programs are always offered in the traditional native language, Schwäbisch language. And as of the Roma NGO in Pécs, we included 2 Roma NGOs from Pécs to the Zámpor, and one of them implements good practice in connection with this category because they organize classical and popular music concerts. Another important field is the organization of theater performances, theater meetings, and theater visits. In the case of the German NGOs, we found 2 different forms of this. Yeah, in some of the settlements, they organize theater performances in the settlement, yeah, where they invite actors. And the other form is that the NGO actually very often in collaboration with the German nationality self-government organizes theater visits to other settlements. Yeah, this is what we found, for instance, in Villány or in Nagypal. And again, the very same Roma NGO from Pécs is really active in this field as well. They started a couple of years ago, they started a theater meeting, which started to grow, and it became a theater, nationality theater meeting at national level. Book launch events and book publishing. It is also a very important activity of these NGOs. And again, the German NGOs are very active in this. We found several good examples, like in Maza, Vémény, or in Pécs. And as of book publishing, we found good practices in the case of German and Roma NGOs in Pécs, and also one of the Croatian NGO from a village implements good practice in connection with this. If we examine the nationality youth camps and meetings which are organized by these NGOs, we can find an interesting difference. Because while those youth camps or children camps and meetings which are organized by the German NGOs aim to preserve the Swabian traditions, the local German traditions, in the case of those camps and children meetings which are organized by the Croatian NGOs, we can find different aims. For instance, one of the Croatian NGOs of our example organized a trip to Croatia, which aims to share knowledge on the history of Croats generally. And the other form of the youth meeting they have aims to provide an opportunity for the youth to build their own organizations and to strengthen their relations. And as of the Roma NGOs, we can find that beside those camps which aim to preserve the nationality traditions and folklore, we also find that based on social needs, general children camps are also organized. As of festivals, we found some nice examples here as well. The Roma NGO organizes, the Roma NGO in Pécs organizes the Spring Festival in connection with the International Roma Day. The German NGO in Pécs organizes the Baranya German Children Dance Festival, in which they again cooperate and collaborate with other NGOs and the German nationality self-government on a high level. And as of the Croatian NGOs, we found some nice festivals as well, such as the County Croatian Harvest Festival, County Croatian Sausage Village Competition, Bean Cooking Festival in Mohács, and so on and so on. And beside these categories, we found such programs which appeared as unique programs in the activities of the German NGOs, such as trips. I mean trips which are organized in order to discover other parts or certain parts of Hungary, or some of them organized trips even across the border. Then stick-sticking activity in strong cooperation with the local government, film screening, filmmaking, organizing the performance of dance groups. And actually a very nice tradition was found in a village, in a Schwabish village, where young people and children make Christmas presents for single local seniors, and they go to their houses and give these presents for them. And as of the summary, thank you, this is the last slide. So as of the summary, what we found is that among the different nationality NGOs, which were included to our example, the German nationality associations organize the largest number and the widest range of cultural and community organization programs. Of course, it is in connection with the fact that we found the highest level of networking and the highest level of the well-working and continuous live communication in the case of the German NGOs among, I mean, in terms of the NGOs generally, but also between the nationality self-government and the NGOs. And it has a very important role in sharing information about the tendering opportunities and providing a hand, providing support for the German NGOs, how to write a tender, you know, how to go for the application. And of course, it has a very important role in the success of organizing or in providing the conditions for organizing cultural programs. We also found that the preservation of ethnic identity is more effective in small villages or villages generally, and in Pécs, Of course, it is based on the locals and in the villages, yeah, and the closer or the stronger communities. And in Page, it is based on the different educational and cultural institutions of the city. And we also found that the professional network of Page NGOs are broader and more layered than that of village or other urban NGOs. So actually, it could be a good support for those NGOs to provide opportunities to meet other people, colleagues, other NGOs, and to strengthen the networking. And the last sentence I'd like to share, actually the most important challenge for most of the NGOs, especially the German and the Croatian NGOs, are that they do not know, I mean the chairs do not know how to inherit the leadership, because unfortunately the youth are not really interested in taking over this responsibility and working as a community leader or working for the community. So we found that many of the, and it is a very expressed problem in the case of the German NGOs, many of the chairs are over 65, 70, yeah, and although they love their work, yeah, they are very committed, they are really enthusiastic, just because of their age, they would like to give over, yeah, they would like to give over the leadership, but the question is to whom. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, I'm really happy if I can answer them.
Thank you. Please remember the presentation is 13 minutes. I'm a very liberal chairperson because it was very interesting to me, all the presentation we had. I have several questions after the fact that, well, the disclosing remark was quite sad. Are those first question is, were you verifying is the number of activities related or representative to the number of members of particular ethnic community within the county? And second questions, is there any horizontal program, or do you know, or you're considering it in your research, any special programs supporting those activities? I'm thinking on this European Agricultural Fund, for instance, which is promoting traditional cuisine, which is surely available also in Hungary. Do you have any observation or remarks on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the activity and the success of the activity is more based on, you know, what kind of conditions the certain NGO has. Yeah, so first of all, whether the chair has somebody in the organization to help him or her out with the administrative duties. Yeah, it's very common that there is a lack of those people, you know, who have experience in writing tenders. Yeah, we found some nice examples in the case of German NGOs, and as I mentioned, this networking, this very close collaboration between the German nationality self-government, and not only the local ones, but you know, on national level as well, and this continuous and well-working communication has a very important role in revealing the opportunities. Yeah, so actually there is a local office of the LDU, the big German nationality self-government, I mean on a national level, and there is and the head of this office share information on the certain cultural programs, new initiatives, new tendering opportunities, actually continuously. Yeah, so there, as he mentioned in the interview, there are more than 300 people on in this email list. Yeah, and he shares the information continuously. So that's the reason that the head of the German NGOs, and of course also the presidents of the German local self-governments are well informed and up to date, yeah, to these issues. And of course, having this financial background and having this support, it means a lot. The other thing which is important, the existence of those schools which provide education, I mean nationality education, because we also found that there is a correlation that the preserving the nationality culture, but actually not only the nationality culture, yeah, the local culture and strengthening the local identity is much easier, yeah, in those settlements where there is a primary school, yeah, because then in this case the NGOs and the self-governments can collaborate with the school. The parents go to the school to pick up the kids, then they are also involved to the activities. So at the moment when a school is closed, yeah, it is a problem, yeah, for preserving the nationality heritage as well. Of course, it is possible to do this, but as I mentioned, it's easier if there is a school. And the fact is that there are several schools in Baranya County which are led by German nationality self-governments, in Boy, for instance, or there is a school in Pécs which is maintained by the big German nationality self-government, I mean on national level. Yeah, and there are several schools in Pécs which offer a German nationality education, or at least they have some classes in which the students can learn the language and the Schwäbisch traditions. Of course, it means a lot. Actually, in the German nationality self-government of Pécs, several members are teachers in this school, yeah, which is maintained by the German nationality self-government. Yeah, as of the tenders or as of the support, yeah, there are different tenders, different competitions, but actually the NGOs have to fix or have to make their plans in accordance with the calls, right? So they can apply for certain fields or certain grants which are offered, yeah, by the different institutes.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I see no further questions, but I'm looking forward to your paper, as I'm also curious on your previous research, the research you presented on different panel. It's my turn. Research done together with Mr. Maciej Ganczarek on his master course in integrated coastal zone management. Adaptation to climate change in Polish, in space of Polish seaside spas, and with a question mark, is it possible to avoid a crisis? I will give you briefly overlook on what we're examining together and what were the results. So firstly, I will briefly present you the main determinants of functioning of Polish seaside spas in conditions of climate change, but also an attempt for typology and selection of cases to be analyzed in depth. Those case studies with recommendation, shortly in-depth information will be presented in the paper, and of course conclusion and final remarks. Then coastal spas are actually the smallest group when it comes to Polish spas communities with the status of health resort. However, they have very special features related to climate and location and coastal location. And what should be stressed, which was important formal information behind this research, that actually in Polish law we have quite strict regulations when it comes to physical quality of spa zones to different levels, stressing as the most important features share of green area, but also in the first zone presence of healing resources, but also proper infrastructure. As you see, it's getting more and more liberal. The higher is the lower is the letter by the zone, but still those features which occur in present form of coastal spas may be endangered due to climate change. Shortly, another formal regulation that actually spa should, a municipality which owns a spa status should fulfill 5 requirements. When it comes to applying for a status, is enough to fulfill 4 of them. Of course, keeping the spa facilities prepared to provide treatment, but those are deposit of natural materials, medicinal materials with confirmed properties, but climate with therapeutic values. Also requirements set in environmental legislation, mostly noise and other low limit of occurrences which are treated as harmful in environmental protection legislation. As well as technical in the infrastructure in the field of water and sewage management, energy, public transportation, and waste management. Then, just to briefly remind that the municipalities which have based their development or treat healing functions as an important part of their economic profile do not only rely on healing values, these natural resources, but also provide wide range of therapies in the infrastructure oriented there. Maybe skipping this information and going to the resources that may be in danger because of climate change. There are 3 main values, main properties of spa, and it's brine, climate, and peat, or in other papers known as mud, healing resource. You have a list here of diseases that this resource may become helpful. When it comes to climate change, of course, the climate is firstly endangered. Considering, for instance, change of temperatures and shifting from mild climate, which is preferable in such places, to more to harder types of climate. And when it comes to peat, it's indirect risk. The major risk is the risk of flooding and sea level rise. When it comes to brine, it might be endangered due to drought. However, this danger is not that severe as to other ones. And when it comes to rise of sea levels, danger. Sorry for the quality. I don't know what happened to those maps, but there are several cases when Zone A is endangered. When it comes to rise of 5 meters, I would say vast majority is endangered. Actually, Ustka is a bit safer, and Sopot is parts of healing resources in Sopot may be preserved. And risk of flooding, which is like different category because it's something that may occur at the moment. We don't have to wait 30 years distance from now. Appeals in Zone A of also said 6 of examined areas of health resorts. And I don't know what is the problem. Oh, the selection of cases for in-depth analysis. We were, I don't know what. Oh, sorry. That's actually the part of the presentation I wanted to show you. We examined all coastal spas, verifying different scenarios of impact on sea level rise on Zone A, B, and C, and impact of flood risk on also zones A, B, and C. But also having as different criteria, because it's not obvious. This possibility of sea level rise is dangerous when we consider the quality of public space, access to greenery, the features I mentioned before. However, different scenario is danger or threat to peat resources and danger to Zone A, which is physically near the shore. So having that and having also type of the shore as well as additional infrastructural facility, which is quite important for possible scenarios of climate adaptation and recovery. We've decided to choose 4 municipalities: Kamień Pomorski, Kołobrzeg, Dąbki, and Ustka. And we formed a set of recommendations. Just to name those regular, it was those recommendations were basing on literature review, but also with interviews with experts. Then type of threat, which is loss of raw material, is regular inventory and proper water management. When it comes to flooding, it's development of spatial plans with providing conservation strategy, providing rising of building rows and restriction, or in some cases even prohibition of amber exploration, as is also a process popular in this area, and it's rising the risk of flooding. When it comes to rapid change of temperature, like heat islands in public space, increase of greenery and let's say raw surfaces in urban areas, maintenance of greenery in new planning, maintenance of development of wetlands and meshes, and maintaining the vegetation and in urban areas, as well as restructuring transport, limiting access to individual cars, and replacing of old. Sorry, there was something wrong here, of all heating resources. When it comes to drought and precipitation, reducing surface sealing, maintenance of wetlands, and creation of small retention areas. When it comes to algae and cyanobacteria blooms, which are maybe also harmful to tourism, its reduction of nutrient input to waters, and mussel farming as also possible solution. So in case of Kamień Pomorski, we proposed a set of universal recommendation, but together with locating a new mud deposit, because the one is really endangered in the place it is located now, and creation of flood control system, integrated flood control system. When it comes to Kołobrzeg, apart from universal recommendation, we propose improvement of the existing drainage system, importance, implementation of sanitation, reduction of protection shore infrastructure, artificial infrastructure, and restriction of for the construction of new piers. When it comes to Gąbki, it was actually the hardest, the most endangered case. Well, we even proposed withdrawal, slow economical withdrawal from health resorts function, or universal recommendation plus improvement of existing drainage system, implementation of sanitations, eliminating CERS, reduction of construction of piers or limitation of piers, creation of flood control system, protection of fistulas of natural resources and green infrastructure as well, and constructing underwater seals, securing residential buildings. Yes, so the largest range of required adaptation activities. And the last apart from universal recommendation, improvement of retention, construction of underwater seals, protecting from development of cliff hinterland, and proper rainwater and groundwater management in the cliff area as the most sensible place. And conclusion and remarks as we're closing our session. One thing that should be stressed, that Polish seaside spas are already in a critical situation and has been proved by report of Supreme Chamber of Control, but also by our interviews with specialists and with local stakeholders. And the effects of climate change may accelerate the crisis to even larger shape. And actually, there is no, although we set number of universal suggestions and proposals, each case should be analyzed individually, and it's actually a broad field for further interdisciplinary research, as the current preparation of seaside coastal spas as really not satisfying at the moment. Thank you very much. Are there any questions to this presentation? It was a great pleasure to host this session and exchange ideas and exchange views and our work on public safety, health, cultural development, and tourism. I'm looking forward to read all your papers and hope to see you in the future in real life, not only in virtual panels. Thank you very much.